All right, so beginning in a constructive resting pose, lying down on our mats, face up, our feet a little bit wide, our knees leaning in toward each other, with our arms out by our sides, palms facing up. We can close our eyes here and just start to settle in. Taking a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Starting to check on our breath and our body, noticing where we feel it today. I'm just kind of letting go of anything that might be going on off of our mat today. And let's just start to lengthen the breath. Becoming aware of the breath rising and falling in the body. Noticing if there's any resistance to the breath anywhere. And if we notice any resistance, if we feel short of breath maybe, or like we can't quite catch a breath, we just, with awareness, notice that, be a little curious, but just see if we can find a breath that does feel complete and full. And then maybe that breath starts to lengthen a little bit as we go. Feeling our breath move through our body, maybe noticing a wave-like sensation, filling up that kind of pause at the top. And then as we exhale, long and full through the whole length of our body, pause before the inhale. And seeing if we can allow all of our attention to be on our breath. Aware of the length of the breath, the quality of the breath, the temperature of our breath. And if and when other thoughts come to mind besides our breath, just noticing those things. Recognizing they will come and go, that there's nothing wrong with that. And then even in that moment of noticing, deciding to come back to the breath. Let's start to move our bodies very gently, keeping the breath deep and full, starting by swaying the knees side to side. Just very gently at first, finding a range of motion that feels good, a pain-free range of motion. Taking our time and moving with our breath as our knees gently drift from one side back across our mat to the other side, letting the knees and the hips move separately from each other. And aware of what we're feeling through each hip joint, through the spine, across the lower back, maybe even into the middle back or shoulders. Aware of our breath as we're moving, aware of the sensations in our body, and being in no hurry to move past anything. Just allowing everything to happen in its own time. If we find ourselves limited in any way in our range of motion with pain sensations, maybe going past a certain point as we sway our knees side to side gives us some sort of indicator that we don't want to go further than that. We can notice that edge of sensation. And we can honor that edge. We can also be curious about that edge of sensation, and maybe that edge of sensation, if that's an area that we've been protecting for a long time, if that's an area that's been tight or tense for more than a few months, that message that our brain is getting about pain or limitation in our range of motion may or may not be completely true. And so as we move very gently with intention, never pushing past the point of pain, never pushing into something that hurts or doesn't feel useful or productive, but maybe easing that range of motion just a little bit more each time we're there, can allow us to just move through that sensation a little bit and maybe notice that we actually can move a little further safely. Trusting that we're safe here, our body is safe, we're not going to make it do anything that will hurt it. But our brains learn to protect our bodies. And we can teach them, reteach them, that we're still safe even if we move a little bit more. So let's gently bring our knees back into the center here, walking our feet about hips width apart, and let's take one ankle over the opposite knee, flexing through that ankle, so pressing through the heel. It's going to help to support the knee here, keeping the joints stable. And we're going to start to bring that knee in towards the center line as we inhale. And as we exhale, we can open that knee out to the side. Almost like we're pushing it away with our hand, but we're not. Just using those muscles around the hip. And once again, as we start to move here, a nice, easy, gentle range of motion to start. And maybe as we move, we start to explore that edge of sensation, and with breath, calm, relaxed energy, we just start to dip a toe past that edge and see what happens. Allowing our exhale to be as we're opening through the hip, as we're letting that knee move away from the body. So nice, easy, long exhalation. And as we inhale, gently allowing it to come back to the center, releasing. That exhalation, that long exhalation, relaxing to the nervous system, so helping to send those messages that we're safe here. This is a safe place to explore this movement. Nothing's happening too fast. We can choose to back off anytime. And we're moving under the power of our own muscles, the muscles around the hip and the glute, the outer thigh. Nothing external, even like our hand, nothing external is forcing it anywhere. We'll flow this knee opened and closed one more time. Easing it back into the center. We can extend it long, uncross it, shaking it out from the hip, just letting it relax a little bit. And then we'll switch sides, bending the opposite knee, ankle over the knee, pressing through the heel. Deep breath in as we bring that knee in towards the center of the body. Exhaling, opening the hip as if we're pressing the knee away. And again, always beginning with a nice, easy, pain-free range of motion. Checking in, seeing how it feels. And maybe after a few times, start to explore a little more movement. Dipping a toe into a little bit more sensation. Knowing that we are in control, we get to choose. Using our breath to continue those relaxation messages to the brain, to keep our body in a parasympathetic state of relaxation, of safety, of trust. No fear, no danger here at all. Nothing that we need to be protected from. Trusting ourselves, trusting our bodies. Let's bring the knee into the center one more time and exhaling it open. Easing that knee back into the center. We can uncross it, shaking it out from the hip. Maybe shaking both legs out evenly. Then we can hug our knees into our chest here as we hold behind the thighs, maybe gently rocking side to side so that that pressure feels good on the lower back. We can always stop if it doesn't. But if it feels good to rock, that gentle massage, a little myofascial release across the lower part of the back, across the sacrum. Let's bring one foot to the floor. We'll keep the opposite knee hugged in and just gently guiding the leg in the hip socket a few times. Forward, back, side to side, some circles. Just kind of checking on that hip, seeing how it feels. Noticing any places where there may be some stiffness and soreness, maybe even kind of a pinching type sensation. Just aware of those places. Moving gently within a range of motion that feels pain-free, but again, willing to sort of explore past that edge just a little bit. Carefully, gently, seeing what happens. We'll release that foot to the floor, grabbing the other one, not grabbing, gently taking the other one, holding behind the knee, and once again, we'll side to side, hip circles. We're just exploring some movement over here. Letting that leg be heavy in the hands. Maybe straightening out that bottom knee, bottom straight leg. Maybe we can keep the knee bent with the foot on the floor. Either one's fine. You can release through that hip. Taking both knees into the chest once again. Let's just rotate through our ankles one at a time or together. Some rotation here. We can even let our knees open wide if we'd like to, holding a little bit wider. Knees to chest. Rotating the ankles both directions, pointing and flexing the toes. Waking up the ankles today. Opening and closing your toes like fists. Just giving the feet some love. Let's bring the feet to the floor and we'll slowly roll ourselves over onto our sides. Coming up to seated, slowly, carefully pressing ourselves up here. You can bring a blanket or a bolster pillow, anything underneath the hips if we'd like. Just elevate the hips, sitting comfortably and tall here. Let's roll the shoulders up and down and back. A few times here with our breath. Just like we did with our hips, we're going to kind of just check in with our shoulders today. So we can bring one shoulder up and around and back, letting the other one be still, maybe even moving through that elbow a little bit, letting the elbow sort of guide the way. Allowing that movement to get a little bit bigger if we want to. And the arm can go forward. And just like we did with our hips, beginning with a pain-free range of motion and then with awareness, gentleness, and soft, even breath, we can start to explore that movement and that range of motion and just see if we can move near that edge, maybe even tiptoe into it. You don't have to get crazy, you don't have to do it a lot, maybe just a few times, just to notice how the body responds, how the brain responds, how our breath might change, moving to the other arm if we haven't already. We keep our breath deep and even. That will remind our brains that everything is okay, that even if there's some sensation, there's nothing dangerous happening here. Move the shoulder once or twice more, both directions, forward and back. And just letting that arm come to rest, rolling the shoulders back and down. Let's rotate through the torso here. Starting again, small, gentle movement, pain-free. And then as we start to notice, maybe there's some areas, maybe there's some places in this rotation that we feel a little more sensation. And so maybe when we get to those places, we slow down a little bit more and see if we can just ease into a little bit more movement, slowing down that rotation maybe, or maybe just slowing down through certain areas. Noticing what happens when we slow down and let our body just explore the whole range of motion, where we feel it, what we're feeling, noticing what's happening in our breath and our body, keeping it even, keeping it steady, staying relaxed. Sometimes we'll notice a face, scrunched up face, our eyes or forehead, or we're clenching our hands or our jaw. So aware of all of those things. And if we notice them, breathing some relaxation into those places as well, letting go of tension in every single part of our body. If there's any places you want to spend a little more time on this rotation, also fine. Move once or twice more, and then we'll just change our direction. So coming to a pause whenever that feels right for you. And we'll start to change our rotation. Again, we can start with just a smaller, gentler rotation. Noticing our breath. Noticing tension anywhere. And then as we ease a little bit more into those spaces of sensation, noticing what we're feeling, tiptoeing into that sensation a little bit more, using our breath to stay soft. Maybe sending loving thoughts to our body, to our brain, if it's trying to tell us this isn't okay. Reassuring that we're safe here. We're taking care of ourselves. Nothing dangerous is happening. Speaking to ourselves with compassion and kindness. Once or twice more this direction. Can ease back into the center. Sitting up tall here, let's open and close our hands just like we did with our feet. Just giving some attention to the hands and the wrists. Noticing how they're feeling. Hands can be a place where we can have some chronic pain sensations. Sometimes movement can help, just loosening things up. So opening and closing those fingers, opening and closing the fists. You can rotate through the wrists both directions. Maybe even taking the hands together and just kind of holding our own hands. We can interlace the fingers, squeezing the hands. Maybe if it feels okay, we can take one hand and just gently flex through the wrist a little bit. Nothing too much. Just a little more movement, a little sensation again, being gentle. Breathing into any tightness or tension. If it feels okay, we can shake the hands out a little bit, but we can just open and close and rotate the wrists too. And let's let those hands just come to rest on the knees, sitting tall here. As we inhale here, sweeping the hands overhead, reaching tall. Exhaling back down as we start to move here. Awareness in our shoulders. Gave them some rotation a little bit. Internal and external rotation, rolling them forward and back. And now a little bit of flexion out to the sides. We can rotate the shoulders while we're here. Palms can face up or down, forward if we'd like even. So it's just exploring movement through the shoulders. Elbows can always be soft. Noticing tension in the neck. Maybe one shoulder feels different than the other. Maybe they don't move at the same pace. Just aware of all of the things about our shoulders. Knowing that we can move into a little bit greater range of motion, maybe even drawing the shoulders back and down as we exhale, some chest expansion at the same time. Our breath deep and full, keeping our body in a state of calm. Let's add a gentle spinal twist here, inhaling to the center as we exhale, long through the spine, rotating from the navel up towards the crown. Inhaling center, exhaling the other way. We'll inhale to the center, exhaling other way. We'll come back to the center here, and let's just exhale the arms down by our sides, giving them a moment to pause, to rest. Let's practice Ujjayi breath here, just for a few breaths, awareness of the breath. Ujjayi breath is where we constrict the throat just slightly, like fogging up a mirror, that same sensation in the back of the throat. Creates a gentle vibration in the back of the throat. This is a calming breath. And breathing like this regularly helps to retrain the parasympathetic nervous system. Trains it to come back into a state of rest. It's a great way if we find ourselves in a state of tension or stress, in just a few breaths, a few moments, we can come back to this breath, and it will automatically bring the nervous system back into balance. It takes a little training and practice, but it can be a tool that becomes part of just a regular practice over and over throughout our day. We can almost train our brains, our bodies to come to it, what almost feels like automatically once it's been trained to. And so we'll return to this breath throughout our practice in different poses and different movements, just to kind of encourage our system to breathe in that way. Let's come to our hands and knees here. Stacking knees under wrists. Nope. Wrists under shoulders and knees under hips. Lengthening the spine here, rooting down through the hands, letting the tops of the feet rest on the floor, moving through cat and cow. And we can practice Ujjayi breath here. Inhaling, dropping the belly, swaying the back, drawing the shoulder blades together. Exhaling, Ujjayi breath. Moving the full length of our breath as we lift into cat. Notice the spine here. Maybe there's some places along our cat and cow flow where our body starts to protect. Our brain says, nope, we're not doing that. That's not okay, not safe. And so we're finding a place within that pain-free range of motion first. Encouraging relaxation in the body and in the brain, encouraging safety. And then maybe with each time through cat and cow, we start to explore just a little bit more sensation, a little bit more movement into those places where maybe our brain is sending us a signal that there's pain. And as we move through that pain with a long exhalation, we notice if maybe we can move past a point we weren't moving past before. And what happens if we do? Let's flow once or twice more through cat and cow, exploring, tiptoeing past an edge if there is one. Let's ease into child's pose here when we're finished, taking our time to get there, forehead resting on the floor. Let's keep the arms extended, widening the knees if we'd like to sink into the hips. As we're sinking into the hips, again, noticing sensation there. Maybe, especially this first time we ease into our child's pose, and maybe it's not super relaxing. Maybe there's some tension, there's some tightness. And so we find ourselves relaxing into what feels like a safe place, maybe even with some support. Maybe there's a block under the glutes on top of the heels, or maybe our hips are just a little bit higher to start. And then maybe with each breath we can soften a little bit more. Maybe widening the knees allows us to have a little more space. Then we widen them even more. And we notice if there's tension through the face, through the hips, through the glutes, through the back. And maybe softening the elbows a little bit, releasing the shoulders, letting the forearms rest on the floor will give us a little bit more rest also. So we can do that here now too. And let's send each exhalation into the hips, seeing if we can sink in just a little bit more. Maybe even a little movement, a little wiggle side to side, like we're sort of easing our way into that sensation.
Relaxing our face if tension arises there. Relaxing our shoulders, our hands. We'll take 2 more deep breaths here, sinking, exploring, easing into rest. Let's slowly start to come up onto our hands. We can ease up onto our knees. Feel free if you'd like to, just to kind of stretch one leg out towards the back and then the other, or moving the body any other way that might feel good for you. From our hands and knees, we'll do some lateral flexion of the spine, just turning the head to look behind us as we inhale back to the center, exhaling the other way. Inhaling and exhaling. And come back to the center, finding our blocks if we have them, placing them to either side of our mat. As we come into a flowing lunge, maybe having them even at their highest point, we'll just step forward with one foot. Some extra padding under the knee if we don't have it. Feel free to add it in anytime if you'd like to. And as we lengthen the spine here, leaning into that back hip a little bit. So seeing if we can lengthen the spine here, almost like there's a straight line from the crown of the head to that back knee. And then with just our fingertips or our hands resting on those blocks, leading with the chest, leaning into that hip. And then as we exhale, we can flow back. And we're just going to find again, beginning an easy, smooth, fluid range of motion. Maybe the blocks walk forward and back with us until we find just the right point for balance on our hands. And so as we flow gently with our breath, enjoying that circular movement sensation, rocking, soothing, easing in here. And we may notice an edge of sensation going forward or back. Maybe there's a tightness in the hamstring or in the hips as we come forward. Just noticing for now. And we're staying within that safe, pain-free range. Nice and slow. And then maybe we start to just explore into that sensation, taking a little bit more time as we're forward, but we don't have to stay very long. And then slowly and carefully, gently easing back, sinking in, lengthening through the back of that front leg a little bit more, easing forward, and just continuing to flow here, but each time seeing if we can allow a little bit more sensation. Nothing that makes us tense up in our shoulders, nothing that makes us furrow our brow or clench our jaw. Nothing that we're not exhaling into or inhaling deeply through. We can change our mind anytime. We can start to just move gently again in that continuous flow. That's perfect way to move. It's just a little bit different intention. So if today feels more like a fluid movement flow kind of day, then we can do that. If we want to dip a little bit more into that edge, opening up through the hip a little bit, we can take our time to do that. Either one's perfectly fine. Just pause for a little bit at the front, at the back, and just explore that sensation. Once or twice more here. Let's ease back into the center. As we go to switch sides here, let's just kind of walk that foot back. Hands can be on the blocks, helping us along the way again. Stretch out and shake out that leg any before switching sides here. Bringing that opposite knee forward, and we'll start just kind of with our fingertips on our blocks to either side, lengthening the spine, kind of leaning in a little bit, but supporting the four corners of that front foot firmly planted, supporting the leg, the knee over the ankle, lengthening the spine here. That line, kind of imagining from crown to knee. Maybe it's not really a straight line, but we're imagining it is. And then we'll start to flow with the breath, using those blocks for support, noticing how things are feeling here. We may notice more tension or tightness, especially compared to where we ended on the other side. So starting with that gentle movement, not worrying at all about moving into a bigger range of motion or into more sensation, just finding pain-free, fluid, flowing, easy, relaxing flow. And then we can start to maybe slow that movement, maybe just taking a little bit more time as we come forward into the lunge. A little bit more time as we come back, lengthening through the back of the front leg. Inhaling forward and exhaling back, maybe even taking a few breaths each place, easing in. Noticing if there's tension through the hips, through the back, through the shoulders, through the face. Breathing long, full breaths into any tightness. Let's go one more time forward and back, finding just the right place through each movement. And then we can come back slowly, walking those hands back, bringing that knee back to match the other. Setting our blocks aside for now. We can do a little side bend here if that feels good. And maybe coming into downward dog or puppy pose. Downward dog, just a chance to kind of stretch through those hamstrings a little bit, through the back of the body. We can pedal our feet, bending one knee and then the other. Let's reach both heels evenly towards the floor here. One more deep breath. And we'll come back down onto our knees. Let's come around to seated. And moving our blanket out of the way for now. We can come back to the floor, rolling the shoulders slowly, carefully back and down, rolling the spine down. And let's just hug our knees in. Letting the knees go wide here, kind of a modified happy baby. We can hold behind the thighs, or we can go up and hold onto the calves, maybe even holding the big toe, or even just holding onto our pants. That works too.
anywhere along the way, just to let the hips open here. So we're sort of supporting those legs in our hands. Maybe our elbows and upper arms are resting on the floor. If we're holding behind the thighs, if we're holding higher, they're not, but our shoulders would then be relaxed to the floor. So finding a place where we can relax through that upper body. And let those hips just gently open, gravity helping here. We'll bring those feet back in very gently to the floor. And let's bring the soles of the feet together. Come into a psoas release here. We'll start with the soles of the feet together and our knees just relaxed out to the sides. Seeing if we can really relax through the hips and noticing if there's any tension holding us there. Again, those messages that we're getting that we can't go further. And just taking a moment to just explore if that's true. Seeing if we can really relax through the hips. Using the breath. And let's start to bring the knees in towards the center here. All the way together. It's okay if the feet come away from each other. The soles of the feet don't have to stay together. They're just kind of facing each other. So we'll gently bring the knees into the center and then we'll gently open the knees out to the side. It's kind of similar to the beginning of our practice when we had the ankle over the opposite knee, but now doing both knees at the same time. Just bringing the knees all the way back together, exhaling out till they're completely relaxed. It may take 2, even 3 breaths to move from opened to closed. So really taking our time. As we're releasing the psoas muscle here, that hip flexor muscle, we may start to notice some shaking or twitching. That's okay and normal. Just relaxing as much as we can through that. Even breaths, maybe a full inhale and exhale as the knees come together. A full inhale and exhale as they come back open. Continuing to flow here, nice and slow, taking our time. Creating some fatigue in the psoas, allowing it to release and to let go. Maybe one more time here, opening the knees. And then very slowly closing them back together. Just gently let those knees open up and slowly straighten them out lengthwise. Just going to shake both legs out from the hips. Letting the hips relax. Let's stretch the upper body, the whole lower body just relaxed. Stretching through the top. Maybe yawn. Big stretch up, reaching the fingertips overhead. Bring the arms back down by your sides, bringing your knees, our feet back to the floor, knees bent here. And we'll come into a spinal twist. Arms can be out by our sides here. We'll take a deep breath in, and as we exhale, slowly lowering both knees to one side. You can have a block under the bottom knee or between the two knees as we come into this spinal twist, holding here for several breaths, really taking time to release and let go. And again, thinking about those warning signals from our brain that say we can't go farther than that. And we want to prop ourselves up just at that spot where it's saying don't go any further. That's where we want to stay right here for now. Breathing into any tightness or tension, letting everything relax. And when that feels relaxed, maybe changing our support and allowing ourselves just a little more space. And maybe we then breathe into that, exploring that sensation, recognizing that we're safe. And if and when we feel our body completely relaxed, maybe again we adjust just a little bit, allowing a little more space, a little more sensation. And then resting, letting our body sink in there. Finding each sort of place along here that felt like the edge. And then seeing if with breath, calm energy, time, and a little bit of gravity, the body can ease itself into and toward a new edge. And we'll take one more deep breath. Very gently bringing our knees back into the center, taking our time. Finding our blocks or support of whatever kind it was, to go to the other side as we slowly, very carefully and gently lower the knees to the other side, and pausing here for a few breaths, calm, relaxing breath. Finding that edge and just breathing into it. And then maybe seeing if we can ease that support a little bit lower. Finding a new edge, breathing into that. Noticing any tension through the top leg or the bottom leg, anything that's kind of creeping in. The face or the jaw, the shoulders, the back. And when we feel our bodies relax and find that next little bit of edge of sensation, seeing if with our breath we can find a little more space. And gently bring those knees back into the center.
Taking our time, we can move and stretch our body any way we'd like to, shaking things out, knees to chest, maybe some windshield wipers for some movement through the spine. And then as we find ourselves in a place where we'd like to spend for our final relaxation, maybe especially if it's cold where you are, grabbing a blanket, maybe an eye pillow to cover our eyes, something behind the head, bolster behind the knees. Maybe your knees are bent. Maybe we have a support there. And then finding a place where we want to settle in for final relaxation, taking our time to get really comfortable, valuing this time, this last bit of our practice in our mind, giving it exactly the same value as every other part of our practice. Our movement is no more or less important than our stillness. And so we begin to find our breath. Our breath in our body. Feeling the rise and fall rhythm of our breath moving through. With each exhalation, inviting in more and more relaxation. The backs of our legs relax. Our calves and lower legs relax. Our ankles, our feet, our toes relax. The hips, pelvis, glutes relaxed. The torso, abdomen, lower, middle, upper back, our shoulders, our arms, hands, fingers, wrists. Relax. Your shoulders and neck. Head is heavy. Jaw. Forehead. Eyes. Our face. Relaxed. Each breath washing over our bodies. Feeling maybe a coolness as we inhale. And as we exhale, warmth washing over us. And let's take 3 more breaths. Slowly beginning to move our fingers and toes, maybe deepening the breath, a few sighs out the mouth. Feeling ourselves coming back to our physical bodies in this space. When you're ready, slowly rolling onto your side. Gently allowing the body to awaken and symbolically leaving behind anything old that we no longer need. Awakening to new, limitless possibilities. Pressing up slowly, gently, coming to seated comfortably and tall, taking a moment here to reflect on our practice. Grateful for these bodies that we have. Thankful for them exactly where they are today, and grateful that we took the time to be here to do something good for our bodies, something good for our minds, and something that's just for us. Once more as we inhale, sweeping our hands overhead, bringing our palms together, exhaling our hands to our hearts. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day.